Hey y'all, my name is Amanda. Welcome to my channel. I am so happy to have you here today. Today I'm going to be sharing 6 all new nautical DIYs made with mostly Dollar Tree supplies, and I am so excited to share them. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. If you do, please hit that bell button so you are notified every single time that I upload. Everyone, please consider giving me a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, as that really helps your girl out here on YouTube. Without further ado, let's get into the DIYs. For DIY number 1, I am going to show you how I made this easy and inexpensive anchor shelf using mostly Dollar Tree items. Okay, so you will need 2 anchors from the Dollar Tree Crafter Square section and 3 of those large style pallets from the Dollar Tree. I began by removing the jute at the top of my anchors and painting them this color of Waverly blue, and I will link the paint colors that I use in the description box below. But here I am painting both of these anchors. Once they are dry, I'm going to dry brush over them with a Waverly Plaster chalk paint until I get the look that I like. So dry brushing is just taking a little bit of paint on a dry brush and going over it. Then I'm taking this nautical rope from Dollar Tree and I'm going to wrap it around that little top part of the anchor, just kind of going through that hole and pulling it around for some added decoration. So I just glue down the end, wrap, and glue down the end again. So here is what my anchors look like. Now I'm going to paint these 3 palettes with plaster chalk paint, and then I am going to paint every other slat on my palette with this dark blue Waverly paint. You could use any color that you like. I'm going to do this to all 3 of my palettes, and I'm also going to make sure that the sides coordinate as well. And then I'm going to dry brush over those blue slats with a chippy brush and some more of that plaster chalk paint, just to make everything cohesive. Then I'm going to take 1 anchor and lay it down flat. I am going to use a generous amount of hot glue to stand my palette straight up at the bottom of that anchor. Now there is a little kind of hump or bump at the bottom of the anchor, so you can see there I just make the palette right above that, so that bump is beneath, and we will compensate for that here in a minute. Once my palette is glued straight up, I do put some more glue along the bottom. I do that for another palette at the top of this anchor as well, and then I do the middle one the same way. Once that is done, I'm going to add generous amounts of glue on the up side of the palettes, and I'm going to place that other anchor on top. Now if you want this very sturdy, I would recommend an E6000 or a Gorilla Glue. For video purposes, I am just using hot glue, and it actually worked out fine. So now I'm just reinforcing with a little bit more hot glue, and I'm going to flip it over and again put some hot glue on the undersides. Now I'm going to compensate for those 2 bumps on the bottom, because as you can see, my shelf is very rocky because of those. So I'm going to take 4 Jenga blocks and I'm going to create 2 groups of 2 and just glue them together with my hot glue. Once they're glued together, I'm going to paint them with that Waverly blue, and I am going to glue 1 set on either side right inside that little bottom bump there, and that will stabilize our little shelf and allow it to stand nicely. This was so easy to make and so adorable. Here's what it looks like with a couple of little Dollar Tree stand dollar and a little starfish, and also one of those little nautical balls from Dollar Tree. So adorable for some teeny tiny decor. I like this one as much as I do. Let's talk about today's challenge, the Open Nautical Challenge, hosted by myself and Emily at Farm Charm Chic, Missy at the Crafty Cove, and our guest host or spotlight crafter this month is Lisa from Our Gray House. I love these ladies. They are so talented, so sweet. I really enjoy working with them. Lisa is so talented as well. You'll have to check out her channels as well as the others and our playlist, which I will have all linked in my description box below. Okay, let's get into DIY number 2. For this DIY, I'm going to show you this adorable, again, inexpensive and easy shelf. So I'm going to begin with these 2 Dollar Tree tags. They're kind of a wood very thin wood with some cork on them. I'm going to remove the embellishments, which is the twine and the tags at the top, and I'm going to place them flat with the cork side up. I'm going to place 3 of these Dollar Tree planks on there, one in the middle to hold them together and one on either side to keep my sign level. I am then going to flip it over and paint the whole thing 2 generous coats of the same paint. I am then going to dry brush over the whole thing with that Waverly Plaster chalk paint until I get the look that I like. I'm going to go pretty heavy. That is not necessary. But then I found these 3 little shell hooks and a starfish hook from Dollar Tree. I'm removing the little hangers at the back. They just pop right out. And then I'm using a combination of E6000 and hot glue to adhere these to my tag signs. I'm being careful to make sure that my glue is alternated and not touching. The E6000 will give you a long-term hold and your hot glue will give you a temporary hold until that E6000 is cured. So I'm just placing them in a row here at the bottom of my tag signs, one in the middle, one on either side. Now I'm taking this relax word off another Dollar Tree sign, but you can get all kinds of words from Dollar Tree. I'm painting it with my Waverly Plaster chalk paint and gluing it on. Now I'm taking a Dollar Tree sand dollar and a little starfish. They come several to a pack, and I'm painting them with a gray color and dry brushing over them with my Waverly Plaster chalk paint. I am going to glue one on either side of that relax word for some added embellishment and also a little pop of color. This was so easy and so fun, and I really feel like it came out beautiful. Now I'm taking some white or cream colored cotton rope from Dollar Tree, and I'm putting it through the hole on either side and just tying a knot there, like you see, a simple knot. And then I'm just cutting off my little tails that are hanging down and allowing them to fray out a little bit. And I'm going to do this on either side of the sign where those holes are. And that is how simple it is to make this gorgeous tag sign for just a few dollars. It's a very large piece, and you could hang some light little towels on there, or maybe a robe. You could hang your keys, or like me, add some decorative items. It just kind of depends where you are displaying this. Sorry about the lighting right now. It was storming at my house, but I hope you can see how gorgeous this is, you guys. Okay, let's jump right into DIY number 3. DIY number 3 is this double tag sign. So I'm going to take 2 more of those wooden and corkboard tags from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take one and paint it generously with that same blue color that we've been using, and then I'm going to apply strips of painter's tape, which I purchased at the Dollar Tree as well. So I'm going to lay a strip, then I'm just going to lay a small little piece as a spacer to make sure that my lines are even, and then lay a strip. I'm going to continue this process until my entire tag is covered. I am doing this so I can create some nice, clean, and beautiful stripes. Once I am ready, I'm going to paint the entire thing with my Waverly Plaster chalk paint. I do 2 generous coats, drying with my heat gun in between. Be careful not to put your heat gun too close or your paint will bubble up. And once that is done, I go ahead and remove these strips, and I have some painter tape, and I have some beautiful gorgeous lines. So you see my little helping hands there. My son was helping me, and that is what that looks like. Now we're going to get the other tag, and we're going to flip it over so it's corkboard side up, and I am just going to put painter's tape all along the edges of that corkboard because I want to paint the border, which is that raw wood. I want to go ahead and paint that. So I'm just going to protect my corkboard so I don't get paint on it. So I'm just cutting small strips of the painter's tape so I can manipulate it exactly in the angles that I want. Once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and paint the borders of my sign with this Waverly Pool chalk paint. And once that is done, I remove the painter's tape, and this little tag sign is ready to be stacked with my other one. So I just stack the striped one on top of the corkboard one and make sure that those holes are together at the top. I use hot glue to attach them. Now I'm taking a couple of wooden embellishments that come in packages of 8, I believe, from Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint my little seahorse with a pool color, and I'm going to paint my little ship with that dark blue at the top. using some painter's tape to make sure that I get a nice line. And the bottom of the ship is Waverly Plaster. And then I just paint the other sail in the pool color, just for a little bit of added color contrast. Now I'm going to glue that right down at the bottom of the corkboard tag. And I'm going to glue my little seahorse there right at the bottom corner of my striped tag. Now I have some beautiful Dollar Tree ribbon. I'm going to run a little line along the bottom of my ship there for a little bit more added embellishment and trim off any excess. I just use a little bit of hot glue for that. And then I'm going to take another piece of this ribbon, a larger piece, and I'm going to loop it through the holes at the top there as you see. And I'm just going to go ahead and tie a little knot like you see me doing there and allow the tails to hang and just kind of cut the tails at an angle so they look cute and finished. And here is what this looks like after I add Go Jump in a Lake with my Cricut. But Dollar Tree does sell stickers as well, and you could add any phrase that you like. I just thought Go Jump in a Lake was cute and funny. It's actually a prepared image in Cricut Design Space. Right along into DIY number 4, where I'm going to show you how I made over this little breathe word from the Dollar Tree. So here's what it looks like. It's like an MDF sign. It stands on its own, and I'm going to paint it with 2 coats of Waverly Plaster chalk paint, every little nook and cranny. And then I'm going to place a piece of painter's tape on top of it there, and I'm going to take this Waverly dark blue paint, and I am going to paint the top above that painter's tape. Once that is done, I'm going to distress the plaster part with the dark blue, and then I'm going to distress the dark blue part with plaster for some contrast. And I just think that that looks really pretty, and it's very easy to do. And I did paint the back as well, just in case this got flipped over somehow. But a quick, easy, and very fun project. You could use any colors you like to customize this, and here is what it looks like. Okay, now on to DIY number 5. I'm going to show you how I transformed a simple mirror into a gorgeous mirrored nautical tray. So I found these large mirrors at Dollar Tree. They are a good size. They're not the small ones that have been out for a while. They're big. And I'm going to take some nautical rope and also some cream colored cotton rope. And this is from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to take the cream colored rope first and go right around the middle of that circular frame. So right around the middle there, I'm going to glue it down, and I'm going to wrap it all the way around, keeping it as straight as I possibly can. Then I'm going to smush my ends together, trying to make them look as neat as possible. They don't have to be perfect. I have a plan to cover that. Now I'm going to take that nautical rope and go right on the inside portion of the frame on the other side of that cotton rope to cover that part of the frame. This rope is actually from Hobby Lobby. I find I can get a larger amount for a smaller price if I go to Hobby Lobby, but Dollar Tree sells this rope as well. Now I'm going to take one more piece of this cotton colored rope and go around the very inside of the mirror there. So far I've got that cotton and then nautical and then cotton and then one more little loop of nautical and cotton. So total of 3 cotton and 2 nautical going around. That's what it looks like. And then I'm just taking a piece of nautical rope, I'm doubling it over, and I am tying a knot. So once that is done, I will cut the excess off either side of my knot, and I'll have 2 little tails on either side. I will glue that down and slightly fray my tails a little bit, and it looks adorable. And I can use that to cover the mess where all of my ropes meet. What you just saw was me trying to decide how I wanted to do this. I don't really know how to do a lot of fancy knots. If you do, that would be adorable. But I finally decided on just doing this simple knot with these little ends on either side and then fraying them out. So I hot glue this down, and of course I'm going to do one on the opposite side. And I think that this is just so adorable since a cute and inexpensive tray. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take these just 3 wooden blocks from Dollar Tree. I leave them unfinished, but you could stain them or paint them if you wanted to. And I'm going to hot glue them down to the bottom of this mirror to elevate this tray. I pair it with a little nautical ball from Dollar Tree, a starfish from Dollar Tree, some gems, and a cute little glass jar. But you could decorate this however you like or make multiple of them and make them as a table arrangement. So adorable. Let's jump into DIY number 6. I'm going to show you another cute and inexpensive sign. For this one, I'm going to take these 2 Dollar Tree wooden planks and I'm going to use some of these Dollar Tree smaller wood planks to hold it together, but you could use popsicle sticks. I just had these on hand. And then I'm going to flip my sign over and paint it with my Waverly Plaster. I'm going to take Waverly Agave, Waverly Pool, and this dark blue Waverly paint, which I will have linked in my description box, and I will also leave it on here on the screen if I can when I go back through this video. I just can't remember the exact name of it right now, but it's this beautiful dark blue. So I began by heavily dry brushing with this beautiful dark blue color until I get it how I like it, right over top of this plaster color. Then I take this Agave, which is a beautiful medium blue, and I am going to dry brush that heavily on top of the dark color, kind of filling in and just kind of contrasting. And then I do it with the very lightest blue, which is the Waverly Pool chalk paint. And once that is done, I go over the whole thing with a dry brushing of Waverly Plaster chalk paint to mute and blend the entire thing. This is what it looks like. Now I'm taking the ship's wheel and I'm going to paint it in this medium gray, elephant gray by apple barrel, and then I'm going to dry brush over the entire thing with this plaster color chalk paint. Once that is done, I'm going to take this nautical rope and go around that hole right there in the middle of that ship's wheel. I'm going to trim off the excess and I'm going to move my rope to the other side of those spokes, and I'm going to wrap that whole circle in this nautical rope. Originally, I was going to do each loop separately, but then I decided it would look much cleaner if I just did one long strip wrapped around into the loops. So I just placed some glue down and I just place my rope on top of it, and I just go all the way around until this entire body of the ship's wheel is covered, until you see those little spiky things. Now, I don't know nautical terms. I know spiky thing probably is not a nautical term, but hopefully you know what I mean there. So here I am just gluing and pulling it taut so it looks nice and neat round and round until I am done. And then I just trim off the excess and glue it down as flat as possible. And I like to trim off the excess kind of at an angle so it lays nice and flat. Then I'm going to take this wheel and just hot glue it to my sign where the holes in the sign were. And now these little spokes are going to stick off each side, but I think that looks really cute. For some reason, that little top spoke looks longer, and plus it has that hole in it, so I just trim it down and touch up the end of it with some paint. And then I take this home word from Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree has lots of word options. This was like a metal word, and I just press that down with some glue there. And this is what my adorable sign looks like. Very quick, very easy and inexpensive, and I absolutely love how it looks. Now I do go over that word with some of that gray color, and then I decided it was too much, so I just wiped it off with a napkin and went back over it with that plaster color until I got the desired look. And that is how simple it was to create this sign. You can just place any type of hanger that you like on the back, so you can hang it on the wall or you can stand it in a plate stand. And here we go. I really hope you like this. It's very customizable to whatever colors you may like. You could also use whatever wooden cutout you may like from the Dollar Tree. They have several in this collection. Okay, guys, let's review today's projects. We made this little shelf out of anchors, little adorable anchor shelf there. We also made this little mirrored nautical rope tray. We made the sign that we just made, the home sign, and we made over this little breathe word in some beautiful colors, and we made our little tag sign. I really hope you enjoyed these projects. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and take care, friends.
You can subscribe to my mom's channel, and thank you for watching today's craft and stay safe.